The story begins with a tractor named Paul. He was a very good guy and a champion in programming, with the best performance in the office. He was about to get a promotion today because of the program he designed. However, betrayal struck him when his boss promoted someone else instead. Seeing this, he gained enough courage to quit his job overseas, but he wasn't too sad because right after leaving that job, he received another very good offer to work at a company in Singapore. The sales there were quite high, and the chances of promotion were also better. For interviews, a guy named Andy had come from their country, and he started taking Paul and a couple of others along with him to Singapore. On the plane, he made Paul do a very strange task, hacking the phones of all the people sitting in the plane. Paul did this thinking that maybe Andy was testing him. Eventually they all reached Singapore, where as soon as they arrived, some thugs attacked Paul and his companion. Upon being attacked, a cloth was put over his mouth. Something was definitely wrong here. Before closing his eyes, he saw Andy with the thugs, and in that moment, he realized that the job he was lured into was definitely a scam. When Paul and his companion finally opened their eyes, they found themselves in a different country, near a bizarre factory. There, they met Ben, the biggest gangster in the gambling industry. He told them that from now on, they would work with him, and if they didn't, they would have to face the consequences. Paul was terrified at this point. He was taken into the factory, where everyone was working on computers. It seemed like this work was forced upon them, and those who didn't comply were tortured with taser guns. Everyone present there was creating gambling apps. After this, they were taken to the second floor, where many big software engineers were working who were very skilled in programming and data mining. Interestingly, the people there were paid salaries, which were higher than those on the lower floor. After a while, Ben took Paul and everyone else to the third floor, which was filled with beautiful girls who were tasked with luring boys into gambling traps. He realized that these girls were also undoubtedly forced to do this work, and this broke Paul inside because all his dreams had shattered. He had come here with the hope of setting his career straight, and now it was all over. Paul tried to escape from there, but before he could, Andy sensed his intention, tripped him, and then threatened him with a gun that if he tried to escape, he would be killed. That night, Paul and his companion were given a sleeping room that was no less than a hellhole, with rats scurrying around that prevented anyone from sleeping. While they were dealing with these conditions, Andy came back and forced Paul to call home, telling him to say everything was fine so that the police wouldn't come looking for them. He reminded him not to do anything clever and to inform his family that there was a signal issue, so he wouldn't be able to talk for long. Paul didn't want to do this, but when Andy threatened to torture him, he sent a message. During this time, Paul saw another man being brutally tied up and beaten. The nearby guys explained that this person had attempted to escape today, and seeing this, Paul's thoughts of escaping evaporated. The next morning, when they all went to work, Andy instructed Paul to execute a significant scam. Paul couldn't do this, so he refused, which made Andy's group start beating him mercilessly. Hearing his screams, their boss came in and said, hey, there's no need to beat him. He can do all our work without being hurt." Paul then designed an ad for their gambling website. Though he did complete their task, he didn't want to stay there. An idea struck him, and he created a help note and reached the washroom. To his surprise, he noticed a window from where he could toss out the help note. However, the window's seat broke as he climbed up to throw it out. Hearing the noise, a girl came out, and upon seeing her, Paul panicked. The girl forcibly took the note from Paul, which had his "Help Me" message written on it, and upon seeing this, Paul became even more anxious. The scene cuts, and we go into a flashback revealing the story of that girl named Lily, who was a successful model and had earned a lot of money in her life. However, one day, someone uploaded a picture of hers on a gambling site, and both her and Lily's boss assumed it was via Lily's consent. Since her boss had a contract with her stating that her photos couldn't be published anywhere other than their ads, the contract was terminated and Lily was fired. She was quite distressed. In the midst of all this, a friend introduced her to a job that promised good pay. Without thinking much, Lily agreed and went for an interview at the address given by her friend. Once there, she realized she had to do a bold shoot and fled from the foreign hotel. However, her friend chased after her, and when he tried to force himself on her, Lily slapped him. At that moment, another friend of hers arrived and threatened the man with police action, then took Lily home, where she met Amy. Andy brought a job offer for her with good pay and easy work, and since it was through her friend's reference, she didn't question it too deeply. She immediately agreed to this job, but then Andy, along with Lily and many models, brought them to a place where they were robbed of their mobiles, passports, and money. It was then that Lily realized she had fallen victim to a massive scam, as they were forced into a job to lure boys into gambling. Like Paul, Lily did not wish to do this work, but she was also threatened that if she didn't comply, she would be killed. Reluctantly, Lily had to bear this. The scene shifts back to the present, where we see Lily and Paul talking. While talking, Paul understood that Lily was also there against her will and wanted to escape. They began to have a connection when suddenly someone started knocking loudly on the door. It was Andy, who had come searching for Lily because he hadn't seen her at her desk for a while. Upon realizing this, both panicked. Paul quickly went into the washroom and ate the note himself, while Andy, noticing the washroom door was closed, began to torture Lily. She told him she wasn't feeling well and that was why she had come to the washroom. Andy, who was quite ruthless, was strangely swayed by Lily's words, deciding to leave her alone. However, he still suspected that someone was with her in the washroom. To find out, he broke open the door and found Paul. After torturing him severely, Andy still didn't discover that Paul was hiding any secrets. Now the scene cuts again, introducing a new character named George. He received a message from Lily today, which was a message from a gambling app. Upon seeing it, he became obsessed and decided to invest money into gambling. He had always been interested in it and had a sharp mind. He played the first game with Lily and, surprisingly, won and received a lot of money, making him feel on top of the world. The next day, he told everyone in college how he made money through gaming and decided to invest again. He ordered a gift for his girlfriend with the winnings and then received another message from Lily asking him to play a game with her again. This time, however, luck wasn't on his side, and he lost badly, regretting it because now he didn't even have money for his girlfriend's gift. With all this distress, he called Lily, who encouraged him, saying, "It's okay, you'll lose once. Try again. You'll see you'll win." After talking to her, George decided he would definitely play one more game. The very next day, while at college with his girlfriend, he received a message from Lily saying game on. His phone battery was low, so he hurried around the library looking for a charger and started his game. This time, George's luck turned back around, or maybe it was part of Lily's plan to keep him engaged in gaming. George won again, receiving millions, which made him immensely happy. The following day, while in the office, he once again got a message from Lily asking him to buy a lottery ticket, which he promptly purchased, although it was quite expensive. Unfortunately, he lost and wiped out all the funds in his account, but his addiction to gambling didn't fade. The obsession overtook him to the point where he began gambling regularly. When his money ran out, he sold his expensive shoes, car, clothes, and even borrowed excessively from his friend circle. Lost in this web of money, he didn't realize he was losing everything rather than gaining anything. George invested so much into gambling that his lenders came to his house to collect their debts, seizing all his valuable possessions. Even after losing all his valuables, his gambling addiction didn't leave him. That is why they took him to the hospital to recover their money by selling his blood. After losing so much blood, George fell seriously ill. His parents couldn't bear to see their son in such a condition and sold all their property to treat him, hoping that George would learn from this experience. However, even after such a significant incident in his life, he didn't recover and resumed gambling. This time his girlfriend was keeping a close watch on him when George placed another bet. Surprisingly, he won again a full crore. Just when he was about to celebrate, he learned from his girlfriend that she had already cancelled the gift he had ordered for her, which made him furious. By this point, George had become madly obsessed with gambling, and he desperately needed money. He even gave away all his grandmother's gold and valuables, and when that still wasn't enough, he blackmailed his mother for credit cards and all other passwords, eventually losing his house, gambling away all the money he collected. But all his attempts were in vain, as this was an organized scam. The gambling operators would lead people on by making them win at first to get them addicted. Then once they were entirely hooked, they'd take all their money away. It wasn't until then that George grew aware of the scam, but by then it was far too late. He had lost his house and his parents' belongings, and they had all ended up on the streets. This shocked him immensely. His girlfriend realized that he was in a poor mental state and chased after him, reaching his home. She yelled, "George, don't do anything. We'll fix this together." But before she could say anything more, George jumped from his apartment, taking his own life. The scene shifts, and we see Ben, who has made so much money from his gambling business and is now throwing a grand party. Everyone is thrilled, fully aware that they have made their riches by duping people and putting their lives at risk. Today, Lily was exceptionally happy because she had reached 5 million customers, all thanks to Paul's help. During their conversation in the washroom, Paul told her, "I can help you escape from here. Through programming, I can help you reach 5 million customers, and then you can leave." Excited, she approached Ben and asked for her passport, finally thinking she could go home. But unfortunately for her, Ben stated, "You can't go home yet. You must complete a target of 10 million first." Hearing this crushed all her hopes. She couldn't refuse to work because she knew the consequences. Here, Ben was also very pleased with Paul, as he had made everything so high-tech that Ben no longer required other workers for gambling. All the work had turned automated thanks to the computers. Because of this, Ben was very pleased with Paul and asked, "Tell me what you want." But instead of thinking about himself, Paul asked for a break for all the workers. Everyone was elated with Paul's thoughtfulness, engaging him in conversation filled with excitement. As they were leaving, a boy came to Paul handing him a secret note. Inside that note had many instructions. It was a signal for the police. The boy realized that Andy was taking all of them to the airport, but on the way he felt like having a cigarette and began begging for money from the workers. No one had money except for the boy, who had received the secret note from Paul. When Andy went to take his cigarette from him, the shopkeeper revealed, "Excuse me, sir, this note is what could work. It has something written on it." When Andy read the note, he became infuriated, realizing they were trying to inform the police. Instead of going to the airport, he took everyone back to the factory and informed Ben of everything. Ben became enraged and ordered all of them to be tortured. This torture was unbearable for both Paul and Lily, and to save everyone, they falsely confessed that they were the ones trying to inform the police about the situation. As punishment for their actions, Paul had a limb severed, while Andy inflicted severe pain upon Lily, leaving her in great agony. To prevent any further issues, Ben ordered them to be relocated to another place. While they were being taken away via bus, Lily gathered her courage and jumped out of the window, rushing to the police station, where she immediately reported Ben and Andy without realizing that the police there were also on Ben and Andy's payroll. Moments later, Andy arrived at the police station to retrieve Lily with some men who started torturing her. During this torture, They filmed the entire process. After torturing her severely, they stuffed her in a bag and threw her into the water. After all the figures left, Andy pulled Lily out of the water, returning her phone and passport. It was here that we learned Andy had feelings for Lily and hadn't taken her away because Ben was treating her poorly. To prove to Ben that Lily was dead, he orchestrated the entire scene. Lily thanked him and rushed off to the airport, where she met her friend who was working security. Panicking, she explained everything that happened to her and exposed all of Ben's gambling schemes. Here she discovered that Ben's gambling network was so vast that he couldn't be caught easily. Therefore, the police devised a brilliant plan to apprehend Ben and discreetly sent a note to Paul, which indicated a date and time, instructing him to activate the fire alarm at that specific moment. Paul realized someone had reported the situation to the police. On the given date and time, Paul set fire to something to trigger the alarm. As soon as he did that, the police stormed in with a raid. Ben became frantic, clueless about how the police pinpointed his location, and he quickly realized that it wasn't anyone else but his own associate, Andy, who had betrayed him. Ben wanted to kill Andy, but couldn't bring himself to do it due to their long friendship, almost brotherly. Before they could make another move, the police arrived and requested Ben's phone. As the police were about to investigate Ben's phone, Andy panicked, knowing his friend would be caught, and shot at the police officer without thinking that the police were more numerous. As a response, the police shot him, leading to his demise. In this whole operation, Ben was captured, and exactly 1 year later, the police continued to apprehend gamblers, successfully reducing gambling globally. After some time, we see a press conference where Paul, having lost a limb, is raising awareness against gambling. Lily was also there, both still haunted by the terrible experiences they endured. This story ends here, embedded with the crucial lesson that gambling can endanger not just your finances but your life as well.